What up, peeps? Just providing an update on the cat. He is very, very, very bored. Mr. Ho, say hello to the crowd. I don't think he's very happy. I closed off his little spot. He's been a little sick lately. But update from the cat. We wired all the battery banks together on top of the low level solar without the loads, because I'm going to connect the loads of the solar straight to all of my lights. Just a simple harness in there, just running straight to the battery bank into this saver here. I also connected the reader. We are right around the 13 volt range, and that is actually when pulling what we've been pulling for the last half hour, which is a surprise. I have my battery bus in there, my negative one just laying there for now, because I'm going to do the same idea I did right there with the epoxy setup. And we have wires, just test wires, connected to the inverter. And then the inverter, for those that followed my Facebook, I played a little Jingle Bells song while doing this. So the inverter is connected, and I've got the lights strung out like a Christmas tree, just because everybody's been decorating for Christmas before Thanksgiving, so I figured, why not? I might as well do it as well. So other than that, we're just sitting here chilling, playing around with that. I thought about doing the Anchor steam and deck lights, as well as my running lights, just to play around a little bit, because I have that panel I can play around with, and it's 9 o'clock now, but it was like 7, so I was like, oh yeah, that works pretty well. But it took me about an hour to figure out the bus bars and drill the holes and get all of my grounds set up down here. And on average, with that actually pulling, it does not pull very much at all. And I mean, that is really, really, really good. Especially for a deep cycle. It's a deep cycle, 109 hours. And then I have my cranking, and then I have 100 hours there. 57 on a 20-hour rate. Okay, this one's a little difficult. But right there it says that a 20-hour rate, 55 amp hours. It's kind of weird, but it's 955 cranking amps. Mathematics wise, it's around 90 amp hours. That's 101. That's 109. This one is 135. So I mixed them up a little bit just to group them. I haven't really studied into the battery banks that much. This is just an experimental, just to get us out there on Anchorage. If there is another hurricane, we will be set up for it, and I'm not staying in this marina. I'm going out in the bay. That was utmost insanity. When Zeta came through, it was a joyride. We were having fun, but I was the only one over here, and I couldn't have fun alone. It was just boring. On top of that, I had boats slamming into me and stuff like that. Also, we got the girl mounted yesterday. I don't know if you can see it. It's a Magma, not currently sponsored by them, but they are amazing for the setup. It just bolts right on with the actual wrench that is attached to the bolt itself. And so far we've had our little Primus set up. Works really, really well. Honestly, I'm a big fan of this because it took no more than, say, not even less than 5 minutes to actually boil water on this. Just quite amazing.
Are you cooking, making water?
I don't know. I might.
Well, if you do, then I'll make something.
There we go. I mean, it boils water right about there, nice and smoothly. I mean, it's probably a 1950s when Primus first came out. Set up judging by the tubing and the valve there. And the only reason why we're not using the fancy GSI gimbal gas systems is because if anybody knows where I can get one, propane bottle won't attach to it. I have this fancy guy. Fancy little system here that I don't know what hooks up, how it hooks up. There's one system here that's not attached. It's just a big scary situation. And it's got the pressure gauge. It's got where it would connect, I think. And then all these fancy dancy hoses, and then this one wide open. Like, okay, why is that one wide open? And this one is connected, but this one is wide open. I don't like that. So we're gonna eventually disconnect this entire system here and connect it to a copper system and run it how we're supposed to run it. I've been up playing around with the wiring at the top to wire my depth finder. Upon that, figuring out that the depth finder itself needs a longer cord. We need a good 30 feet more cord there. Don't look at my bilge. That's been there for like a month so far. And for some reason, I go to pull it out of my bilge, and it just gets caught up in the hose, and then shoots back down in there. So I gotta scoop it out. All that fancy stuff. Get it nice and dry in there again for the keel bolts. Got a couple of those cleats, because as I told you, the cleats ripped out of the other ones. So I got this fancy one that I can connect probably 4 or 5 lines if I really wanted to it. At least good 3/8 half-inch dock lines can be ran through here. All 5 of them should fit in that hole. No, I'm being sarcastic. Really only like 3 lines when you're pushing it with these. But they hold really well. They're called a Hirshoff cleat. Comes with the directions on how to tie your knots for some of the people out there that don't know how to do it and think they do. Just do it this way. You don't have to ripe it 9,000 times. That 1/2 hitch right there, cleat hitch, is gonna work perfect. Your line won't move. Physics won't let it. Requires 1/4 inch fasteners not included, which kind of sucks, you know. It's kind of like requires AAAs, and they don't put them in the box, and you get them, and your grandmother and stuff had to buy the AAAs for you to actually play around with stuff. I also ended up finding a board right there that had miraculously had the setup for the compass. I do not know what that board goes to, though. We have been trying to figure that board out. If anybody has a Cascade 34, like and subscribe, and go ahead and comment on what that board is and where it goes. They're trying to figure out it kind of looks like a little window slider, but there's nowhere to put one. Nor where one was actually mounted at all. Oh, actually, I'm gonna look over here. Okay, once upon a time it was mounted somewhere over here. in the kitchen area, and apparently it came down. So that was the shelf my wife has been bugging me for. It was once upon a time there. It came down. So we're gonna rebuild that. The battery is set. The house looks amazing. With that new stuff, I am honestly a big fan of this. If you have teak in your boat, I will provide an update month to month on how well it actually stays. But so far, it stays really well. But it's only been a day, so it hasn't been beat on. It hasn't been test trialed yet. Really, the only thing that has been beat on constantly is the floor, and it looks the same as the wall. I mean, miraculous. I love it. It's nice and dark. It's got that smoky rum look. That I just love. I love the dark in it. Son is tired. He has been at work all day long, slaving like the man. We right now are working at a local nursing home, just getting money to get our dog here. We finally got a car. Luckily enough, it was a prayer that we got a car for cheap. Not often do you find a 2002 Ford Escape for $800. I handed her $800 cash. I said, "Here you go. This is what I got." She took it, and it needs a new tie rod bearing, but it's cheaper to buy just the tie rods and throw them back on there, realign it, good to go. Other than that, we're making big moves in small slices. Just little chunks at a time, taking it easy, doing what we gotta do, because it's a big step going around the world. It is a big step. It is more beyond any achievement than any man could possibly do nowadays. I mean, you can go to college for 20 years and become a physician or a doctor and live a happy-go-lucky life. Come home to your wife, or never have time for your wife because you're working so much, but you love your career so much and you get buried into it. It's kind of like here. I have fallen in love with sailing. I love it ever since Xander. And here I am chilling out on the boat and loving every bit of it. She loves every bit of it. We've had our trials and tribulations, but that's all part of me being a pain in the rear and sticking her to it to make sure that she knows how to do these things when the emergency comes down. Because as both of us running through first responders, it's not easy, but we know how to drill each other to know how to get that key spot open to get it there. Because it's the simple things like, okay, a battery could break, or up there on the mast, the lines could break, or that thing could miraculously pop out, like on the old boat it actually did. It's not easy. There's things that can happen out there on the ocean, and you have to be prepared for everything that is going to happen on the ocean. Just like with the Westerly, those problems we had on the Westerly with the engine and the wiring and a couple other things. The motor, when we went to go and forward and reverse, it didn't work. Those things happen. They happen in the least amount of moments. Sometimes they happen in dangerous moments, like, okay, we're out there in the hurricane and we gotta throw the 1,000 feet of line that we got out and throw out 60 feet of it, save half of it, or throw out 300 feet of it times two, split the line in two, and have a tail, two lines going out with two chains going out at each tail of the rope itself. There's things you're gonna have to come into aspect of doing that, because this boat right now, your anchor sits on a cleat. That's all. Sits on a cleat. 6 bolts. Backing plate. 6 by 5 inches. That's all that holds. Windlass has an entire board that goes from the front of the V-berth clear to the bowsprit. This doesn't have it, so we have to come down and show up to what we have to do to this system to make it work, to make it cooperate. Our AC unit right now doesn't work, but we have a local windsock that we had found that I guess attaches to the bowsprit, which hooks up to the hatch itself, which provides us with air only when you're turned downwind like you would be on anchor. We're not on anchor. We're really seriously thinking about cutting costs and buying a dinghy, sitting out there on anchor, because it's way easier to pay at $8 a foot, pay for a little dinghy once a month, club parking, park it down here, bike lock it, go to work, come back to the marina, get on our dinghy, and go back to our boat. I mean, it's way cheaper, and on top of that, we wouldn't even have to worry about a generator. We have the inverter, we have the house batteries, and we have the solar. And that's really all you need besides a water maker. Which I wouldn't trust the water in this bay. You couldn't pay me to even drink a sip of it while swimming. But we're making it slowly but surely. Next step is, making sure these batteries are up and replacing them with new batteries. Like these two right here are old house batteries. That I'm gonna replace and put with beasts like this one that are gonna go in there and they're gonna sit and they're gonna recharge and they're gonna provide this boat with energy. On top of that, we have the motor to recharge them. It goes down, it gets low. I have my one battery that I'm gonna hook up to my switch over there to switch it over from just charging the starting battery to charging the house bank as well. So when we're under motor, that happens. Other than that, we're playing around, we're having fun. So far the crock pot runs on the inverter, so we won't die completely. Or starve. We can throw some crab in there. We have a crab trap out there catching blue crab right now. We had four in there earlier? Four in there earlier, and I threw a cast net and caught 2 shiners, so I chopped them up, turned them into chum, and threw them in there. Made some chum butter, threw it in there, see if the crabs like it. Other than that, we're doing good. Provide you guys with updates every once in a while. Sparrow and Swan or the SV Ranger. Like and subscribe right down on that button right there. And catch you guys later. Bye.